Using the given statements and reasons, complete the following two-column proof. We are given that RS is congruent to TS and that V is the midpoint of RT. And what we want to prove is that triangle RSV is congruent to triangle TSV. So first of all, we have the given filled in for us in our statements here. But the one thing that we don't have is we don't have what we're trying to prove put in here. So let's start with that. Triangle RSV is congruent to triangle TSV. And we don't know the reason why, but that's at least one part. Nice that we also have this reflexive property in here. And in fact, if we take a look at that, we like to mark up the triangles when we start, when we can. And what I see is that in the triangle of RSV, we've got side SV, but also in the triangle of TSV, we also have that same side in there. So we actually can fill in, based on what we're given down here on number 3, the reflexive property, because reflexive property is like reflection. You're looking in the mirror, you see yourself. So when we come back over here, again to fill this in, what we say is that VS is congruent to VS. And we can take care of that. And as we look there, we also wrote down the RSV is congruent to triangle TSV, so we can get rid of that statement. So we have a couple of pieces of information, and what I can always recommend is that you look over here at the possible reasons as well. And we already have used the reflexive property, so we can get rid of that. We already have used the given, we can get rid of that. And it seems logical, based on what we're given here. The RS is congruent to TS, which is already marked up in this triangle. We haven't really done anything with the midpoint here. So I wonder if there's some statement that we can make about the midpoint. And remember that midpoint means that V would be in the very middle of RT. In other words, what we can say is that RV is the same length as TV, because again, midpoint is going to divide this segment of RT into 2 equal parts. And if we mark up that triangle, that's going to help us come up with our reason here at the end. But before we get there, we look over here, and what we see is that we need to use our reason of definition of a midpoint. So lastly, again, now that our triangle is completely marked up, what we see is we've got, in each triangle, we've got a side with 1 tick mark, we've got a side with 2 tick marks, and then we have a side with 3 tick marks. We have 3 congruent sides from one triangle and 3 congruent sides from another triangle. So as we look here at our options, we're going to use side, side, side for our reason.